but most of the conversations have been with kind of existing members at the start of the year. And I think it's a time of the year where most people, not just to do with health and fitness, but it's a time to reflect and review and to kind of question the direction you're moving in, and to try and, you know, set some resolutions or goals, or to refocus and that sort of thing. So I've been having kind of inquisitive conversations with members who maybe want to address, you know, what they're going to focus on this year, or targets they may have for this year, or goals, or things that they may want to feel like they want to get on track. Maybe they feel they've been meandering a little bit, so they want something a bit more focused. Have you guys been having sort of any similar conversations with members or people that you work and train with at all?
Certainly members, definitely. I mean, I do a big push, really. I mean, I sat down with one of my coaches, Marta, and we sit down every week and go through our list of clients. We go through our, what we call high risk clients, you know, people who've not booked in the previous week, who aren't booking in the next week. So, you know, we just want to check that they're fine. But I think it's quite easy, even when you're working with a trainer, to just get into a rhythm that's not necessarily in line with why they first approached. And I have loads of clients who are really consistent, but what's going to take them to that level that gets them a result is, that's why I have to start stimulating conversation. It's like, is that still important to you? You know, in January now, you because sometimes people are quiet and they won't tell you. They won't tell you what they're really feeling unless you reach out. And, you know, if you see people regularly, it's great. And that, with that familiarity, sometimes I want to try and steer clear of being complacent that that person is all right, because maybe they need a little bit of help. You know, so, but certainly a lot of people are trying to work. I mean, I think that some of the clients who've been with us a long time just have things sorted. They're just, nothing's really changed. It didn't change over Christmas. It didn't change over the summer or whatever. They're just doing the same thing. But then there are other people who really do, they haven't quite built the momentum. They may have joined 3 months ago, but they haven't built the momentum they want. And we have to refocus the mind in January.
How about you, Pete? Have you been having any
I mean, most of the conversations that we have at like in my groups come out of the group, because everyone's similar age, similar kind of, I would say, like similar lifestyles, you know. So, and it's mainly stuff, just life stuff that gets in the way, you know. And then it's all, so we mainly start to talk about, like, you know, how people are busy, people have got kids to look after, people have got jobs, some people miss sessions because, you know, because something's come up, or they've got to go to London for a meeting or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but it's the same for everybody. Like, you know, and it's not saying like you're not special and you're not, you know, but it's like, you get, I was talking to somebody today who said, you know, she managed to have a couple of days where she was doing stuff for herself, and she, you know, she's going to get her hair done, and she's going out for a coffee with a mate, and she was doing the kettlebells in the morning and all of that. And it was like, she said she felt guilty about it. And I was like, well, don't. And she's like, yeah, but I feel like I should be doing stuff. And I'm like, but you're getting things done that you'd usually put off, and because you're too busy, and because you've got the time, it's okay. And I was like, I feel like that, you know what I mean? So we end up having like conversation within groups, and then something will pop out and someone will say, oh, that happened to me as well. And then all of a sudden everyone can then kind of realize it's not just them. It happens, you know, everyone's very same, and everyone's got similar problems. They just get exacerbated in different ways in different people's heads as well. You know what I mean? Because I was thinking about this the other day, because people end up, like Paul was saying, you get quiet clients who don't say anything. But then when you have a conversation with them, they might think they've had a conversation with you or the group of people. They've had this conversation when they haven't. All they've done is been going over it in their head, and they think they've actually had the conversation. And it's like, no one ever spoke about that. So let's talk about it, and let's, you know, let's address it. So, so yeah, I mean, that's the way we kind of work it in ours, because it's, like I say, it's all kind of a group thing and everyone gets on. And also the groups, the different times of groups have got different people in them who are Very similar, but like actually it's quite weird how the group demographic is different for the different time periods. So that's quite interesting as well. And I don't know if that's because of some people like getting up early, so they're all kind of similar, and some people like training mid-morning, so they're kind of similar, or it's because they're part of that group, so therefore they get shaped into that. You know what I mean? It's really weird, but it's quite an interesting demographic, I think.
I remember watching the documentary, the Louis Simmons West Side Barbell documentary. Have either of you watched that on Netflix or something?
I haven't, no.
And it's really getting really interesting. It's still hardcore kind of powerlifting, obviously, at West Side Barbell, but there were the people that trained in the morning, and then there were the people that trained in the evening. And it was like, they were almost like enemies, you know, like the morning crew and then the evening crew, and they didn't mix. And if, you know, it was sort of like they were very tribal, you know. I'm sure it's not like that with your guys, but I'm just...
Well, no, but I get that with people who'll say, like, you know, I can't make the 9:30 session. And I'm like, well, that's fine. You can do 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I'm not doing 7 o'clock. I'm not getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, okay, so you can miss it then, but I don't want to miss it. It's like, well, it's up to you.
I had that conversation.
I can't make it turn up, but you know, 7 o'clock in the morning is like, as far as I'm concerned, that's all right now.
Well, I mean, that's mid-morning. That's mid-morning, 7
Now it's in my 20s. 7 o'clock in the morning was the middle of the night, but now it's okay.
Well, the thing is, that's a conversation I have multiple times this week, because you see, and what it really highlights is the desire for change versus the action someone's prepared to take, and it really lays them bare. Because I had someone recently and they came in and they were like, you know, I'm really unhappy where I am. It's making me feel awful, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, it did, you know, I could tell that. And it, you know, that person needed to get some stuff off their chest or whatever. But because of their timings, they couldn't do some of our classes in the evenings. So I said, well, why don't you just do the morning ones? Why don't you do 7 a.m.? I'm not a morning person. And you're like, well, if that's the only time you can do the program and it's going to make this massive change to you because it's exactly what you want, you know, that's something that needs to be addressed. That's something that you need to be called out on to a degree, because it's a limiting habit, and it's a great example of the old habits and their power.